Please subscribe to help you and your motorcycle perform better.
I want to be a rider, I want to have a motorcycle, I want to get into this sport. So there are some stages I would like you to go through first. If you want to join the sport, keep watching. I remember this. It was terrifying. And because I was arrogant, as most teenagers are, I went into the first corner, went across the road and went straight through a hedge into a neighbor's garden. When you are going on your first time out, it's got to be somewhere local. And by that, I mean, because if anything does happen, you can walk home. Makes things a lot easier. So, first time out, streets you know, your local neighborhood, where you grew up or where you're living now, you know it. You know all the roads, you know all the intersections, you know the nature of those intersections. And because you're staying relatively close, if necessary, and something happens and nobody's stopping to help you, you can literally walk home. We always have to protect ourselves, and I don't care if you've ridden for 30 years. This is really important because as soon as we get back on a bike, we have to recalibrate to the motorcycle experience, period, because we've been off it unless we ride every day. So first thing is set your expectations, know where you're going. Now, if you're going to go out, you're going out with somebody else. You're not going out alone. Again, definite no-no. Not yet. Somebody has to be with you and they need to know where you're going. So that's fine. You can figure out where that is. You choose that pathway because now you're much happier. I'm doing this, and doing this. Because you chose it, your brain, your conscious mind's in a much more relaxed state because you're choosing that pathway. Don't you dare choose right. And that's it. If you're going to do that, go all rights, stop and go all lefts. If that's what makes you comfortable on your first ride on the road, that's fine, but you go both ways. You don't ever just embed one circle unless you're going to be a NASCAR driver, in which case you're going to be off the bike anyway and it doesn't matter. Next, you've got to prepare for what you're going to do. So, those are for me every time I go on a road ride. Tank's full, all my gear's good. Set my tire pressures. That's the very first thing. One other thing when I started riding as well, and one great piece of advice I got, which really helped me when I started riding, was do that. Day to day in a neighborhood, you could come around the corner and there's gravel and crap everywhere because the road just got dug up. And you didn't know that because you didn't go there. So if you're choosing this, why not, before you actually physically take the motorcycle on it, why don't you take a bicycle or go walk it to make sure that nothing's changed and you're not going into an obstruction or conditions on the road are terrible because of road works that weren't there yesterday. So, on a lot of rides, they do a pre-ride check. Somebody goes out, rides the entire route, and reports back to the group that it's okay, or we're diverting because of this. Well, when you first start learning to ride in an urban environment, there's nothing wrong with getting some exercise to check that in your local neighborhood where you're going to ride, the route you've chosen is fine. That preparation leads you to a point here where you are 100%. Let's go do this. You're going to go out on your first ride with a completely different state of mind because every variable you have taken care of for you, the route, and your motorcycle. That's awesome. Having that control is great, but now we're going into an environment where we are pretty much largely, generally, have a lot of out of control things. So, we have animals, we have children, other road users, we have weather, we have road conditions, and we have, from your parking lot drills or car park drills to this, is a monumental step. Can't be understated at all. Yes, you deal with it all the time in your car if you drive. Yes, if you use local transportation, you're in it in a bus. But when you're on a motorcycle, it's different. The problem is we bring our bicycling heritage to this. but a bicycle stops way faster than a motorcycle. But when you get out of that front gate, or you get on the bike, or you pull it out of the garage, this environment will dominate your conscious mind. And you will be, okay, you're trying to remember everything you learned, which is why we need this very short distance. And at the same time, your eyes are going, huh, because you are multitasking in an environment that you've not been in before. One of the things that really helps your conscious brain relax is your speed. So if you are around where you live, the local speed limit is gonna be slow because it's urban. That really helps a huge amount there, because with speed comes and we tighten up, and then everything is hard after that. So if an environment where you're in 30 miles an hour, oh wait a minute, you were doing that in a car park. That's comfortable and your brain isn't going nuts in regards to it's 50 miles an hour. Learning and staying in this environment is critical to success, because the speed is very similar to what you used in the car park drills. The only part there is that these are new things. And you're in a situation and an environment and with a piece of equipment you don't know. So what gear are you going to go around in here? Second, third gear? Is that what you're going to use? Because that makes the most sense. Maybe it's just second gear and you go around the block and you come back, you do your route, you give yourself 10 minutes to decompress and go, okay, I did it, yes. Give it a second and go back out and do it again. And then do it again and do it again. So ideally, with this environment for your first ride, try to go out 3 times. Give yourself 10 to 15 minutes between each ride, because your conscious brain has to get back to the point that it goes, okay, that's over, it's over. Are we sure it's over? Are we not going to do this? Oh, okay, fine. And your conscious brain empties out, the level of tension in your body drops. And after that, you go back out and do it again. Maybe you do exactly the same routine, but you do it the other direction, right? The more you can do this on your first day out in your local environment with low speed, the more comfortable you're going to get with the bike. That doesn't mean it might not be incident free, because we may have something happen, and what happens, happens. We cannot, under any circumstances, stop that. Closed environments are great for learning. Going out in an urban environment is fraught with situations that are out of our control, and we panic. And generally when we panic, we do 2 things. We freeze, or we do something extremely violent with the motorcycle, which usually involves braking, and because of that we crash. I don't care how many days you take to do this. 3 times per day. You do this just like the car park drills until you're 100% comfortable. And when you're comfortable in this environment, this is by far the worst environment, because when we get out in the countryside, there's less vehicles, there's less stuff. We do physically relax when we get out in the countryside, because all this danger is reduced. It's not gone, but it's reduced. Stay in that environment for as long as you need until you are 100% comfortable, which means your conscious mind is empty, you're riding around, your eyes are scanning, and there's no tension here at all, and you're riding relaxed. When you've mastered that, then we can go further. Getting out of where we live into the countryside is really what we strive for with a motorcycle. And what is that all about? It's kind of William Wallace, right? Freedom! So getting there is an exercise all by itself. But when we get there, our variables change dramatically. And our number one issue is always going to be the secondary issue. This is a constant, this is a constant. If you're out in the countryside and you come around the corner, there could be 1,000,000 miles of cow poo right in front of you. You need to react appropriately to that situation. There could be a big pothole. You may come around a corner and that corner suddenly decreases in its radius and pulls back on itself hard, and you're going, ooh, because you are riding with the wrong state of mind. What's critical here for point of view is that no matter how many times you've ridden that road, the next time you go down it, because a road is a living, breathing thing, and things happen to it all the time, you need to ride with a point of view of discovery, which equals less speed. If you're going slower, nothing is going to come up to you and make you react. You're constantly evaluating, and with less speed, you're 100% comfortable. The next thing that you've got to realize is, can you let go of where you are in time and space with the speed you are traveling or riding at, so that you are not micromanaging every square inch of pavement that you are riding on? That conscious mind part comes back again, right? Which is, it needs to be empty. Let your subconscious take care of you with the skill set that you are constantly evolving, to allow your eyes to just look ahead. And if you can look ahead, all that tension and drama is gone. And discovery doesn't become an activity where it is, oh, poo. Because we've got to get away from that. And the only way to do that is look ahead. And in using your eyes, now we're looking at pieces of recognition. What does that relate to? If the turns are open, your eyes will recognize that the turns and you can see that pathway. And for me, there's nothing better than a series of bends that you can see all the way through, and you get that grin and you grow about 3 inches and the world's a better place. Equipment. On roads, we'll get markers, we'll get chevrons, we'll get reflective strips, we'll get all kinds of equipment that the transportation department puts on the side of the road that give us eyes to look to and maybe connect the dots. If there's a big yellow board with 10 chevrons, then that corner is probably going to tighten up. If there's one yellow board with 1 chevron on it, it's probably going to be open. So if our eyes are looking ahead and we see and recognize what that is, we can get through that corner with little drama, because we're understanding what we're seeing here. So our subconscious recognizes it and we carry on our ride and there's no drama. In terms of items, well, what have we got there that may be helpful? Here's an example. Power poles and power lines generally in rural countryside follow the road. If your eyes are forward, you can see those poles. Maybe they're hidden by trees and everything else, but there are items there which will tell you and guide you on the pathway of the road. Can you leverage that? Can you let your eyes look far enough forward that you can see things like these in order to recognize symbols, signs, items where your eyes can see it, and subconsciously you ride the bike, so your eyes are left alone to look for alerts and hazards. So then your first countryside ride is going to be no different than your very first ride around where you live, because you need to honor time. If you're planning, then obviously a brand new ride in an environment you don't know is going to elevate stress, which is going to create fatigue, so you need to rest to let that drop back out of your body again, empty your conscious and subconscious. So rest. So if you feel yourself getting tight, you need to stop. And because you've gone all this way to get to this point, maybe that rest is 20 minutes. Maybe it's 30. I don't know. But because you're going longer distances, when you stop for the bike, appreciate where you are, appreciate what you've accomplished, and take a rest period to actually let your body and mind decompress and get rid of all of that nervous tension and energy. I don't care how many times you rest. For me, riding on roads, this is by far the most important part of all. Because if I am pushing stress and fatigue, then my performance means that my awareness in my situation is significantly impaired the further I go, because I am more likely to react instead of see something and then evolve my choices based on what I'm getting into. So when you start writing, give yourself plenty of breaks and intervals, because again, we want to build positive upon positive upon positive. You're in a dangerous environment, and the first time you switch and go into a different environment, it's elevated stress, right? So make it easy on yourself.